All right, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of season 3 already of our Same Old Lions franchise stream here. So normally this is a gameplay stream. We are playing on All-Madden using a custom slider set that I have up on Operation Sports. But obviously the off season is a huge part of team building, and that's another element of this streaming series that I really wanted to be focused on here, and even more so here as we enter into season 3, and I'm kind of working out some of the kinks with the sliders and even just the broadcast in general. So I super appreciate you checking this out. It should be a lot of fun. As I mentioned on Twitter, not only is it the draft today, the 2022 draft here, but famous last words for any Lions GM is I have a plan. And so we're going to talk all about that plan today. We're going to be jumping right into the draft with just maybe a quick free agent recap, kind of following up from the last episode. So if you did miss episode 1, check that out. That's on this same YouTube channel. Of course, you can subscribe to this channel and it'll ping you whenever there's new episodes and whatnot. So took a vote earlier today. I said, would you guys rather me stream at 7 p.m. or around midnight? And 7 p.m. did win out pretty handily, about over 60%. So we're going to go with that. If I'm a little sweaty, it's because I literally just finished working out, rinsed off really quick, and here we are. So I'm literally like in the midst of a cool down, probably sweating through my shirt here, even though it's one of those quick showers, right, where you're just still sweating afterwards. So, but nonetheless, we are jumping into the draft. But first, let's talk about free agency a little bit. Hey, Michael, what's up? Yeah, so as you can see there in the chat, Michael says, loving the sliders, not playing on broadcast because the switching is tough and playing Zoom on offense. Yeah, I haven't tried it on those, but I know a lot of people are, so that's totally fine. I love broadcast. It is a huge adjustment, but it's weird now. I feel more weird playing from behind the quarterback, and so I really like broadcast. I wish you could use it in NCAA 14 because I'm worried about starting a franchise there. Like I won't be able to handle it. So, but anyway, let's take a look at our team signing. So you already know we got Roquan Smith. He was our big free agent acquisition. It's going to fill a hole that we've had on this team for not just my tenure, my fictional digital tenure here with the Lions, but a hole that really the Lions have had for quite some time. It's probably debatable at best that Jared Davis has been a solid linebacker as far as what the Lions are probably hoping to get out of a first-round pick, 20th or so overall. Obviously, that's underachieving, I think, by anyone's standards. Seems like a great guy. I've heard really good things about him, but again, I think Jared Davis, we've had a big hole at middle linebacker, so that's huge. Not only that, it does take away a strength of the Chicago Bears, who won their division. So we talked about that in the last episode. I didn't end up signing Ron Leary, so we talked about having a need here. We had some cap space, which I'll explain in a second, and we ended up picking up Ron Leary. It's a pretty minimal $2 million bonus contract over 1 year. Even if we wanted to cut this guy for some reason, we could, and it wouldn't cripple us at all. So I figured, why the hell not? Let's go ahead and do that. I did put an offer out for the same reason on Kareem Jackson. He has not accepted it. It was a green offer. Now it's suddenly yellow for some reason, but he did not accept that. Kind of the same thing. We're looking to fill up a safety spot. For those who missed it earlier, one of the things, I don't edit positions, not just for my team. I don't edit them for any team. Because I feel it's an unfair advantage, number one, and two, I don't have the time to really go through and just edit 1,000 players every year, so it gets a little confusing. So, not to mention the other reason why I actually advise against doing that, unless you're in an online league and everyone can do it, is that when you're using like a custom XP slider set, so different from the gameplay sliders, when you're using a custom XP slider set, all of those are done on tests where they're not editing player positions, right? So if you're editing those every year and you go 20 years or 10 years even deep into a franchise or something like that, you're going to potentially see issues of inflation, player rating inflation. And so that's just something I would advise against. And it just adds a little strategy. It actually makes scouting a little easier because you can really just kind of scout in on the players that you're focusing on. And I've been able to find a lot more sleepers. So, yeah, Michael, I grew up in Michigan, man, first 25 years of my life. And still a suffering Lions fan, but that's okay. I fell in love with the Lions watching Barry Sanders. I remember just watching over at a relative's house and not even really knowing what football was, but just seeing how excited he was when Barry would break a run or whatever. And I was like, this must be exciting. And just watching those games, I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. So there are a lot of top free agents still available. As you can see, former Lion Philip Lindsay there from the 2021 season. Devontae Adams, who I've read online, usually won't resign until the end of free agency, and he signs for like $1 million, so some team's going to get lucky. Look, are those? I know some people have said, this is deal breaker. I'm done playing this. This is crazy. It's not, first of all. Number one, DeMarcus Cousins did this in the NBA, right? He signed for the league minimum. Am I saying it's intentional in this game? Of course not, right? It's a glitch. But you can live, you can kind of, expand, you can kind of stretch your imagination a little bit to have that fall into place. So if Devontae Adams wants to go and take minimum to be on a good team or something like that, so be it. Or who cares what he makes, right? If he fits under the cap, what does it really matter? It's not real money we're talking about here. So to me, he'll sign eventually. I'm not going to lose any sleep over him signing with a team for cheap money or whatever. Top free agent signing since we last spoke, J.J. Watt signs with the Chiefs. That's a big signing for them. They lose Mitchell Schwartz, though, to the Patriots. Fred Warner, we saw in the last stream. He goes to the Colts. Von Miller to the Bengals. Bengals got a couple nice players. Mike McGlinchey, I think that's how you say his name, goes to Washington. Leighton Vander Esch we saw. We saw Baker Mayfield go to the Broncos. So, again, we're kind of getting into some other names. Christian Kirk is a guy I like, but not at the money he signed for, $15 million a year. So good for him. And so again, just kind of looking over some of these names. Ronnie Harrison, we were looking at him, but he already signed. So former Lion Danny Shelton there, we let him go, goes to the Giants. So again, there's just a quick recap of what's going on. So I do have a plan for the draft. I have to enter in the draft and then pause it immediately so that we can discuss this plan, because I cannot see my draft board or anything like this until we jump into here. So let's go ahead and do that. There were a few more news stories. So by the way, with the news stories, I understand that these have an impact, right? I don't know exactly this year the impact, because there are some new ones. There's ones that have been tweaked, some of the wording. I like it that way. If you see on the bottom there, it says no spoilers. That's usually what that's referring to. I'm trying to avoid comments popping in. I'm like, oh, that one there means he's an automatic X factor or something like that, which I don't think those are there, but you get the idea. Part of the experience in enjoying this game is not just glitching it over and over. It's just not fun for me. So I like the surprises, even if that means that the third overall pick today that I pick a bust. I mean, that happens all the time. The Lions have done that multiple times over the years. So, I mean, Joey Harrington, as much as I thought Joey Harrington was going to be good, and I still think he had a shot had he not been drafted by the Lions, he was number 3 overall, right? So it would not be the first time. There's many others, many others. So what was I doing? Oh, yeah. So we wanted to look at these quick news stories because I did update a few things, and I'll show you how I set up my draft board because I think it can be interesting for people to see because it can get pretty hairy. A draft board can get pretty big. So we saw the Heisman story there. Here's some news stories which I thought were cool. They're actually commenting on what teams they're going to pick. So the Lions have issues, but a solid right outside linebacker would put them in the playoff hunt. That's actually really interesting because that's actually the number 1 player on my board. So I don't know. And again, for your online leagues, that might actually be pulling from my draft board, which is actually kind of cool because it gives you a little sneak peek into other teams' top of their draft board. So it's maybe something to think about. The one underneath that's similar. It talks about Wilkins, another guy I had on the top of my board. He's that defensive end. They have him going to the Rams at number 1. It sounds like it's pretty much a lock there, which helps us because that was what I was kind of debating over is do I go with the linebacker who's kind of a rushing, kind of like a Khalil Mack sort of player, or do we go with kind of the straight edge rusher? And if they pick the edge rusher, that's going to obviously simplify it quite a bit for us. So Nathan Peake is a receiver who's he's jumped up the draft board they're talking about there, so that's good. They love his hands and so on. Pro Day was a bad one for Ohio State. Mike Floyd, the linebacker, Mike Floyd. Speed drills were his real weak spot. Some of these are interesting as you look through these. So, there's the Pro Day for Wilkins, right? So I moved him down because here it is. But it was positive enough that his draft position will improve. So it wasn't an earth-shattering. That's a really interesting one. That's super conflicting because it's like, oh, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. So I'm really nervous to pick him, truthfully. I mean, if he falls to the second round or something, I'll take a shot, or even the end of the first, but I don't think he will. Donovan Red. So he's the player we talked a lot about the last stream. He's that cornerback. What's really interesting, I mean, he checks out tremendously, except for Mark Schiller's report here. It says, not Donovan Red's best day at the Combine. Some NFL teams will be willing to overlook his bench. So let's start by looking at that, because I think that's a really interesting thing here. So we're going to start the draft. We're going to pause the draft right away.
The Rams are now on the clock.
Okay, so the Rams have the first pick. We are third there, as you can see. So we can now jump into our draft board, which is super helpful. Now, They're talking about Red, right? And it said that he didn't have a great bench press at the combine, and teams are worried about this. Here's what's weird, though. Look at his bench. He had the second best bench press out of all cornerbacks. So, like, I don't understand. Did he, like, drop the bar in his face on the 16th rep? Or, like, what happened? Like, there's some misconceptions there a little bit. Again, I'm kind of nervous to pick this guy. Otherwise, this guy looks like a stud. He's a scheme fit. He's 21. Look at the speed. Look at the agility on this guy. He can jump. I mean, he's an absolute stud of a corner. But to me, that raises a bit of a red flag in that, like, this might be kind of a red herring, so to speak. There's a little pun for you. But I almost feel like maybe they're throwing us off the trail a little bit here. And I'm really nervous to draft this guy. Like, I don't actually have him that high up on my board anymore. So he's still the highest rated corner for us. But I'll show you really what the top of my draft board looks like. So again, he's an interesting one that we saw. And then there's that report too about Greg Wilkins, who he was the one who was like, well, he kind of did okay, but I think teams were expecting more. So again, kind of wishy-washy. But this guy's also an early first. He was my number one player, also a 21-year-old. He would not be he should be a scheme fit. Why is he not showing up as a scheme fit for us? Oh yeah, he is, sorry. In this screen, it just doesn't say there. So, but he's a scheme fit. I mean, everything looks good. He's super strong. He's got some quickness to him. And at 272, I mean, you can understand, and the other thing too is like people just focus on the 40-yard or what's his cone speed or all these different things. The dude's 272 pounds. So there's a difference between him being the 11th fastest defensive end and a dude who is like 240. I mean, if this guy's the 11th and the guy weighs 240 is like 8th or 9th, this guy's probably the better package, right? So you can't just always jump in and just like look at the green numbers, so to speak. I mean, you need to kind of look at it all as a total package there. But what I'm looking at specifically with Greg Wilkins is what has me nervous is the fact that there was one of those news reports. Otherwise, this guy would be probably the guy I'd want to take at 3. However, it sounds like he's going to go number 1 to the Rams is what they're saying. So let's look at my draft board. We're going to talk simple strategy, and then we're going to get going. So my draft board, I actually have Pat Christmas. What a name. I have Pat Christmas at the very top of my draft board. The reason being is he had a positive story. He is scouted out as an early first, and he was an early first projected. Like, this dude just looks like a stud through and through, whatever's going to happen. It's also the comment that I thought was cool that Trey Wingo said about how the Lions are, an outside linebacker away, or whatever it was. So it may be reading off of my board there, which is pretty cool. So Pat Christmas is the guy. Now, he's not even a scheme fit, so there's a bit of a risk here. But I look at him that like, okay, this would be a position for me like a run stopper. He's got a good bench press. He's got decent size. And I think that we can probably get him to be, I really hope, because I mean, it would suck if we never get him close, and it might be a bad pick. But to me, he can certainly play on the edge on passing downs. It seems like he's got decent size to do that. And he's kind of like a downgraded Khalil Mack, it looks like. We'll see if he ends up being a Khalil Mack. But to me, he has kind of that similar build, that similar makeup. He's 22. That's kind of the one thing that I'm not, completely in love with. And so, Pat Christmas, I guess, does have a first-round name. And so, I don't honestly know what I'm going to do after that. So we figure Greg Wilkins is gone. We're hoping to get Christmas. And I don't know what we're going to do with, like, one of these two guys. Or possibly even Donovan Red, right? I mean, Donovan Red is, like, he's really hard to pass on. He is really, really difficult to pass on. But again, I try to think about, shine versus substance, right? I mean, there's something to be said about that. Even in Madden, we're like, ooh, this guy's real shiny. Look at that 40-yard and look at that 3-cone and even the bench press that's allegedly bad, and he's 21. But I don't know. There's got to be something to that, And there's a lot of other corners too that I'll show you here in a little bit that have good reports that sound like they're going to be potentially even better players than Donovan Red. And nothing would be worse than to pick Red and have like 4 other corners behind him end up being really good players where he's not. So some other guys we're looking at, Martin Stoutmire. Now, he is a scheme fit. We would have to move probably Tracy Walker to free safety, which in real life I'd be fine with, but he's not really a free safety build at this point in my Madden franchise. He's very just kind of average, middle-of-the-road, strong safety at this point. So I don't mind bringing in a Martin Stoutmire. He projected as an early first. Now, you might be saying, well, I don't know, this is kind of crazy because this guy's projected as a late second. So this guy could probably be available to us at the end of the first round. So I can tell you right now, I'm not going to pick him number 3 overall, right? Because he might be there. So, we're looking at Pat Christmas. Greg Wilkins will probably be gone. You could also say the same thing about Donovan Red. He's a mid-second. So maybe we grab Donovan Red at the end of the first or at the beginning of the second, but I just can't see him being a top 3 pick. So far it's Pat Christmas. The other option, which is really intriguing, is Colin Farley. So I forgot to say at the beginning of the stream, though, but we freed up some cap space because we cut Matthew Stafford. So as much as it pains me to say that, we cut him. There's only about a 1.4 something million dollar penalty, and we saved almost $24 million by doing that. We needed to do it. We were going to do it. So we have one quarterback, and he just finished his rookie year. He's a second-round pick last year, Nick Escobar, if you've watched any of the games. And I like Nick Escobar. He's a 73 overall, normal dev, very well-rounded. When I picked him, he reminded me a lot of honestly, a Russell Wilson. He kind of had that. He had a good arm. He was mobile in a sense that he was very could get out of the pocket well, right? He's an improviser prototype. He's now at a strong arm for us, so he's a scheme fit, but he's normal dev, right? So Colin Farley, again, looks like a guy who could be a can't-miss guy, but he's also projected late first. So it's like, where do we go with these guys? Like, what do we do if Pat Christmas is gone? Because I'm trying to look for a guy who is like, should be going. Like, we don't want to be stretching too far, right? Especially when we have, as you can see on the left, we had the last pick in the first round, and then a few picks later, we pick again. So, like, a lot of these guys could be here. Stoutmeyer might be there. Colin Farley might be there. Donovan Red probably will be there. So, now we start looking at a guy like Will Allman, but again, he's a mid-second. So, I mean, where are these guys that are, like, first, right? I mean, so now you're looking at, like, Mike Powell. If we didn't need a defensive tackle, I'd really like him. But he's 23, so I'm not, like, loving him. Jonathan Stanley, 22, okay. 6'6", 300 pounds. Jeez, he's really lean for a defensive tackle. So now we're looking at a guy like Brandon Nichols. Now, he's a slot, so he's not even a scheme fit. Not to mention, you don't even see man up there. You see zone. So he could be a really long way from being a scheme fit. Otherwise, I like him. He's 21. He's quick enough. I would probably actually consider grabbing him. So now we're looking at the guys, now these are guys who are like mid-first talents. Now this guy, Jonathan McCray, what you're going to see now, the way I have my board set up is I have all the early first projected guys first. So all of these guys we just looked at, and they're pretty much in position of their position on the depth chart, except for kind of the first 3. Because those were the guys, again, I need the 3 guys. After that, it just kind of goes in order. So anyway, point being is after these guys, now it jumps into like some of these sleeper players. So there's a collection of sleeper players. It doesn't mean these are the next guys I would draft, but you have Jonathan McCray, who was kind of one of those guys that said like nobody could cover this guy. He's looking like a total stud. This guy's a scheme fit. Not pulling me up here. He's 21. And so, truthfully, this guy is an option for us. Jonathan McCray would be an option. It's a bit of a stretch. He's a mid-first to pick this guy 3, but he's an option because he had a great scouting report. Now, same thing. You saw Nathan Peake did at the beginning of the stream. But he's not, he's an early third-round talent, so we can definitely try to maybe get him later. There's a good tight end, but again, he's not really slotted. So, like, what I'm looking at here is that column next to their height, right, where it says the round. If they're not projected to go there, I don't want to reach too far. Like, I don't really want to pick a guy that has a 2 in front. So, again, we're looking at, like, a Pat Christmas. We're looking at, Greg Wilkins, if he's there. Again, I would certainly consider grabbing him. But we need that third guy, right? That's kind of the trick. So I'm comfortable with either of these guys. But then that third pick, is it going to be a Jonathan Stanley? Because I think, wasn't he an early? Mid-early, that's okay. Mid-early is the one thing. Mid-early. But then you start getting into these, like, mid players. Now, again, I think he's going to have probably a dev trade. I don't know. It could be, right? It's hard to say. So anyway, there's other players like that. Ethan Pittman had a good report. Morgan Beckford won the Heisman. So, of course, this is another option. Now, he is a scheme fit, and he's also 21. And so we project him more as a late first, but I doubt he's going to be there. So do we pick an outside linebacker here, number 3 overall, when he's a late first talent? Tough to say. But again, he's 21. He won the Heisman. So I think he's in consideration. There's a lot of good corners that are going to be available around the second round for us. A guy like this, Sean Griffin, had one of those positive news stories. This guy will be available probably when we pick in the second round. So another reason why I'm not in a huge rush to go get Red. So Sean Timmons, a safety, same thing. Should be available with our second round pick, possibly even our third. He had a positive news story. So there's like this whole collection of guys here, from Timmons all the way up to McCray, that had dev stories. Or what do you want to call them? Like news stories or whatever you want to call them. Development stories is what I refer to when I say dev stories. Then we start getting into like the late guys. I'm sorry, these are mid. So we have a whole collection here of mid guys who could be options. So it's funny. I started the stream saying, yeah, I got a plan. I've been thinking about it. I was at work thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, I got a plan. I got it all set up. And then I jump in here and I'm like, oh God, I have no idea. I really like Evan Martin, by the way. He's a late first, but I think he's going to be just a tremendous guard. Just 21. I mean, I like him a lot, but like, man, I wouldn't even, if this was like the 11th pick or something, and like, well, are we going to stretch a little bit? But this is the third pick. This is like a franchise-changing pick. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's a tough call. Just seeing if there's anybody else I wanted to kind of take a look at, but a lot of running backs that I ended up scouting kind of late that we can probably grab. There's a lot of guys. I mean, it's weird. Like, I think later in the draft, this is going to be much easier. The hardest pick for me is going to be this number 3 pick. And maybe we just start the draft. I'm certainly not going to trade up. And trading down is an option, but I don't know. I honestly don't know if I want to trade down or not. But there are a lot of guys. One guy I didn't get a chance to scout fully, but I just left him on there. Max Pitt, I don't have it. You may notice I only have like 1 through 3 guys on my board. As we start getting past the third round, if I need to start digging around and taking, stab at players, I will. This is the one guy that's outside of that simply because of his combine report, and he's 21. I figured, hey, if this guy's sitting in the 6th or 7th round, sure. I mean, look at this. This guy at the very least could be a really good special teams player. So he's kind of the one guy who broke that mold. By the way, at the very bottom are the players. Especially these guys who have like the ones. These 3 guys, these are guys with the negative reports. So we saw Larry Johnson, Cole McCain, Tyler Cruz. These are ones that had like either bad combines or maybe an injury or something like that. So I have those guys way down there. So I guess in short, guys, I don't know what to do with the 3rd pick. Because even Pat Christmas, he's not a scheme fit. It's kind of silly to pick a guy. I think Colin Farley probably could be a scheme fit. Before we talk more about him, can I look at my roster here? I think I can. For those who haven't seen Nick Escobar, just to give you a full idea of what we have here at quarterback, and I mean, this is it. He's our only quarterback, Nick Escobar. He's now strong arm. I think he started off as like a 71 or something. Had a pretty nice year for us. And again, he was picked last year, 2nd round. We had the 3rd pick again in the 2nd round. And he actually did really well. He went into the last game at a 13-6 touchdown interception ratio. I threw 2 picks the last game with him. But for a rookie, I mean, he had 7.4 yards per attempt. Decent completion percentage. A lot of those were throws out of bounds, things like that. It's just guys weren't getting open. On All-Madden, the coverage obviously is quite tough. So he's also able to run a little bit, right? I mean, he had a rushing touchdown, just 10 per game. A lot of that comes from sacks, obviously. Actually, I don't think sack yardage count against running in the NFL. It does in college. But 31 attempts, 112 yards, so he's moving around a little bit. And as I said, he was NFC Offensive Player of the Week in Week 15 and a 2nd-round pick last year for us. So we don't have like a huge financial commitment to him at all. And he'd be a great backup. But it's also like, hey, if I'm able to win games with this guy, why am I wasting such important draft capital on another quarterback? It's almost rhetorical at this point. It's hard to answer. And I think now the other thing is that we haven't really won with Nick Escobar. We've won 7 games in 2 years since I started this franchise. So we've had the 3rd pick now 3 years in a row, going back to real life with Okuda. And so, and actually we traded the 3rd pick technically last year. That's how we have the extra first now. So, as we look at our draft board again, the reason I bring up that quarterback is there's not much. He's the only guy I have on my draft board. The reason I even have him here as a non-archetype guy, right, because he's a scrambler, is because he has A+ throw power. So that tells me I can probably get him to be a strong arm archetype fit very quickly. Here's the thing, though. My biggest worry about Colin Farley, like if I pick him and he's got a hidden dev trait, I'll be happy I picked him. Because, I mean, quarterback, we all know it's the most important spot. But if I pick him and he's got normal dev trait, it's like I already have one of these, right? I already have Nick Escobar. And so I just wasted draft capital. Now one of these guys are our backup quarterback. And that's a huge risk. So again, the fact that this guy's projected later, I just don't think I can take him right now. I don't think it's a wise use of the draft pick. I think he'll probably be pretty good, but I just can't do it. So again, I think maybe it's easier to just kind of go by position here. I am not picking a running back this early, second or third round. So really, it's probably unlikely we get Matthew Blaylock. The only reason I even scouted him is because, I mean, look at his combine. I mean, that's a beautiful combine there. So again, maybe if this guy falls, he's 23. So really, if he doesn't fall, I don't want to really take a 23-year-old running back probably. So these guys I can probably get later on. John McClellan didn't really have a great combine, but he looks pretty agile. He's 22. And then Xavier Dillard, same thing, not super fast, but has a good juke move, and he'd be fine. He'd be a good backup. Maybe we grab him in the 6th or 7th round even. And of course, by then it'd be really, really good value. And it's got any fullbacks. Oh, come on. Wide receivers, I mean, we actually have quite a need at receiver. We only have the 2 starting. Now, both those guys were over 1,200 yards for us, so they did really, really well, but we were a losing team. But as I mentioned, there are some sleepers here. We saw Nathan Peake, who should have, the potential to have a hidden dev trait. So we could grab him later. There's a guy like Lawrence Ewing who I really like. Check out that 3-cone and 20 yards. So he's a scheme fit, and he's only 5'8", but this to me just screams slot receiver. The fact that he has great hands, he can catch in traffic, and he's that agile, I am thinking this guy would be a really nice player to grab as a slot receiver. So having said that, why do I need to draft Jonathan McCray when there's 2 guys down here I like just as much? There's also a guy, Marlon Bost, who, again, would be a scheme fit. Nothing good, but, nothing, terribly good, I should say. But he's a guy we could probably grab in the 5th round. And so Tyler Cruz was hurt. That's why he's at the bottom, or he had a negative dev trait or something like that. And there was another guy. Oh, I like Jason Pemberton, too. He's a physical guy, but I look at the jumping on this guy, 6'4". So, again, if he's sitting around, I mean, there's some receivers later on that if they're laying there, I don't mind grabbing. Tight end was probably the last position I actually looked at. There's only 2 guys I have up here. The guy with the injury or something like that, again, I probably won't be touching him. But Mark Jett looks to be pretty solid. There was a positive report about him. And again, if he's sitting there in certainly the 4th round and maybe even the 3rd round, we might go grab him. I mean, Hawkinson's our tight end now, but he hasn't really done a whole lot for us. So to grab a guy who could be a really special player would be nice. Not a whole lot at tackle. I really liked Evan Martin. I talked about him. But again, not enough to take number 2, or number 3, I should say. There's a few centers. Will Allman, but he's a power guy. He's 23. There's going to be so many players around the end of the 1st, early 2nd, and going into the 3rd. Like, there's going to be just a plentiful amount of players by then. This 3rd pick is an incredibly difficult pick. Ethan Pittman, they keep saying, is like the best lineman in the country. They've said it many, many times. So again, love to grab this guy. He's a scheme fit. He's 23, but he would be a really nice player. So there's some linemen later on. Some tackles, but we don't really have a huge need. Ends, this guy wouldn't be a scheme fit. But he's just a guy I scouted that came out okay. So again, if we don't grab an end early on, we could always grab one later. And again, speaking of that, if we don't get Wilkins, which is sounding like we won't, because I think he's going to go number 1 overall, there are some other options later on. So John McCord, I think, had an injury, maybe? No, maybe not. And again, there's a lot of defensive tackles, but we just don't have a need here at all. But I don't know. Certainly an option. There's some guys that are going to be available later. Pat Christmas and Morgan Beckford. So Beckford again won the Heisman. Guys, I don't know what to do with this third pick. We're just going to have to hit it and just see what's available. But just give me a quick lay of the land here before we do that. So there are some middle linebackers I like. But having just signed Roquan Smith, it's just not a big of a need as it used to be. Again, some guys around the mid-first area. DeMarcus Boo Radley. Larry Johnson was hurt. Another speed rusher here in Glenn Brayton. A lot of good players. This is like a really deep draft. Just a ton of corners. I mean, there are a lot of corners. Griffin has a positive news story. A lot of guys. Donovan Red, man, he's so hard to pass on. Sean Timmons had that positive story, so he's a mid-second. We're going to have too many players to pick from. Ooh, man. It is nerve-wracking. I guess we just got to wait and see, right? Let's get the draft going. Let's see what the Rams do. Yeah, I know people were excited about Beckford last time, and it's weird because I've done that too, like in Madden leagues. I'm like, oh, this guy won the Heisman. No one's picked him yet, and I picked him, and I'm like, oh, I was a little underwhelmed. Like, why did I reach for this guy? And I don't want to reach. I mean, as you know, being a Lions fan, we cannot be reaching right now. We cannot do it. So let's skip ahead here. All right, the LA Rams. Allegedly, they're going to be picking, I think, is it Greg Wilkins, the defensive end? Let's see what they do. Let's see the guys overall here. Hey, the Rams, they do. So they pick Greg Wilkins as expected. He's very highly rated. I don't think you can't see his dev trait yet or anything, but yeah, that was the pick we expected them to make. So now it's the Dolphins, and then it's gonna get hairy. It's gonna get really hairy because I don't know what to do. All right, so let's see what the Dolphins do here. Good pick for the Rams. I'll be really curious to see how he was number one on my board for a little while. If they pick Pat Christmas, I don't know what I'm going to do. And even if they don't, like Pat Christmas is, I think, the guy I want to take, but he's not a scheme fit. And he's what, 20? Isn't he 23 or something? Like, I don't know if I want to take a 23-year-old. Number 3 overall. He's 22. Okay, so maybe I would. So, but he's not a scheme fit, and he might never be. Here's the thing, though. Here's the reason why I probably would take Pat Christmas if he's there. It's because we could change our defense, right? We don't have a player here. I mean, we have Okuda, but there's not really a ton of players here that I need to build around, right? We have some nice players, some complementary players, but I'm sure there's a defense where I could use a speed rushing outside linebacker along with a man corner. I might switch back to a 3-4 or something. I don't exactly know. And maybe before we even get to that predicament, can I actually look at my coach scheme? So let's just see what scheme that would be. So he is a left outside linebacker. So we would need it to be a speed rusher. Because, again, I don't edit the positions, but with a man corner. Dang, is there not? I think I went through them all already, didn't I? Wow, so actually there's not. So that actually complicates things. So we'd have to kind of prioritize either Christmas or Okuda. Like, who do we kind of build the defense around? Then again, Christmas might not even have a dev trait. So, like I said, this is terrible. This is like the hardest third pick I've ever had. All right, here we go. The Miami Dolphins. Let's see what they pick.
The Lions are now on the clock.
Andrew Streeter. Oh my God, this is getting so difficult. Okay, so they just took Andrew Streeter, who I don't even think actually, yeah, he was a power rushing defensive tackle. That's why I never scouted him. So the Dolphins kind of surprised a little bit. Oh my gosh. I don't know what to do. Here are the offers, by the way. If we were to trade down, probably some good ones. Ooh, we can move down to 5. But it's so easy to accumulate picks in this game. I feel kind of dirty doing that because I've already done it a couple times, and like I've noticed the AI doesn't even trade. So until I see the AI pull off a trade, I'm gonna reject the trades for now. We're making this pick. I traded it last year. I just feel like it's scrub. Okay. Man, guys, I don't know. By the way, just the generic best player available on the straight board is Pat Christmas. At least the guy we scouted was Pat Christmas. They actually have Travis Nugent. I always joke and say the son of Ted Nugent out of University of Michigan. Ted would not be happy his son went to the campus at Ann Arbor there. But Travis Nugent, but he didn't really scout out well for us, so he is not an option. So let's see. Again, Pat Christmas is definitely there. Yeah, I was telling my wife, I'm like, there's a guy in my draft named Pat Christmas. I just wanted to see her response. She's like, that's nice. Oh, she thought it was funny. So let's see. And then there's Morgan Beckford. You know, so I mean, he is a scheme fit. We have no problem with this. He won the Heisman. But he's a late first talent, but at the same time, like doesn't so like here it is, right? We have a late first talent who won the Heisman versus like an early first talent where there's no real news story. I mean, to me, it's like kind of pick your poison. This guy's 21, but there's nothing there about his ability to like play pass coverage. And like to pick a guy 3rd overall who has to come off the field on 3rd downs, like that just seems crazy to me. But I mean, late first, he could also be there later on. So, but then you know, what do we do then? Do we if we take Pat Christmas now? Are we really take 2 linebackers in the first? The first scheme fit that we have, as I mentioned, Martin Stoutmire. He's an early first talent. There's no news story about him. Colin Farley, also an early first. Donovan Red, but again, I would pass on him right now because I think we could probably grab him. So, really, again, as I have him up here, looking at these 2 guys, he's not a scheme fit. We already have a pretty good center. Just don't really need a defense. I think these defensive tackles will be really good, and I'm all about best available player. But I mean, we're so bad. Like we can't go with like 3 defensive tackles. We have Deshaun Hand playing on the inside already. We have our rookie last year who made the Pro Bowl as a defensive tackle. So, man, oh man, it's tough. I just think you gotta stick to your first answer, right? Kind of the list you have. I mean, it's kind of down to these 2 guys. Now, Martin Stoutmire might be there later on. Just might. Pat Christmas definitely won't be. I think Pat Christmas is our guy, guys. But I don't know what I'm going to do with the defense. Let me check one last thing. Like, let's see where Okuda's at as far as, like, if we had to kind of mold him into something of a different scheme fit. Would that be possible? Oh, yeah, so he could do slot. No problem. We could get him to slot pretty quickly, I'm thinking. So what would that do then? So we need a left outside linebacker who is a speed rusher. There we go. So it'd be like a 3-4 under. We'd be switching back to a 3-4. Which I don't want to do, honestly. It's so hard to stop the run in a 3-4 in this game. So, like, if we pick Pat Christmas, I mean, what we're going to have to essentially do, we have to just, I mean, this is a huge thing to use your 3rd pick on, but, like, we have to basically force him into converting into a run stopper. And like that could be a disastrous thing because again, as we look at left outside linebackers, we know he's going to have a high overall. That awareness, his being his highest thing, is a clear indicator he's going to have a high overall. Pretty athletic. 22. Pat Christmas does look special. I always get a little worried when I see hit power as a listed thing with a guy because it's just eh. Guys, I think we got to go Pat Christmas. I mean, we have to. You got to stick with your first answer. I just, man, I really hope we can convert him to being a run stopper, but if not, we're going to use him on the defensive line, but he'll never be a scheme fit. I don't know. I guess to me, it's like we can figure something out. We can always trade a Kudale. I mean, we have to. You got to think kind of long term. All right, Pat Christmas. Here we go. Uh-oh.
The Jets
Oh,
are
no.
now on the clock.
Oh, but he's got a hidden depth trait, though. Oh, and he's not too far away as a run stopper. I'll take that. That could have been a lot worse. He's got some work to do to turn into a true linebacker, but I mean, he's got a really similar build to, what's his face? Isaiah Simmons, right? I mean, this guy looks like he could be an Isaiah Simmons kind of player. He could really play him anywhere. So Pat Christmas, there he is. Let's look at some ratings here. I feel a lot better. 75 overall. Injuries, a good rating. How's his coverage? Zone. Oh, he's not a very good cut. So, I mean, it's going to be hard to keep him on the field on certain downs. But, you know, with that, at the same time, that's not true. Because on first, in like a 4-3 scheme, he'll be a linebacker. And on pass rush situations, he'll be at right end. So he'll be on the field. How's his stamina? The first hidden depth trait guy I've drafted in Madden so far. Last draft, we had some really good picks. All of them were is the opposite of this. I had every single pick was a whatever they call the opposite of reach. I just found really good value. They're all green. This is the first reach pick I have. However, it's also the first hidden depth trait. And I mean, 8th versus 3rd, I'm not worried about that. When I heard that noise, I was thinking, like, you picked the 88th best player. So I was a little bit worried there. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with him. Like I said, we have a little bit of work to do to get him up to be a run stopper. But we can get him there. It's just going to take a while. But I don't know, maybe not. Depends. This guy might be an X factor. It's not going to take long at all. So, we got 2 good linebackers on this team. We went from 0 to 2. He's got good stamina. So, yeah, he'll be on the field a lot. All right, guys. I'm good with it. I like it. Oh. All right, let's skip ahead. Let's see what's going on here. I'm going to keep an eye on. I think the Jets were the. I'm going to try to keep an eye to make sure that we don't miss any trades, because I don't want to give myself any unfair advantages. So if the AI, they didn't trade once in the last draft, right? It was kind of weird. Yeah, so there's been no trades. So we'll just keep an eye on that ticker at the top there. So the Jets are picking next. I'm really curious to see what that quarterback's going to be rated, because he was the guy. If he doesn't have a dev trade, I'll be super excited I passed on him, because I like Nick Escobar. I just didn't want to get 2 quarterbacks that were normal. So skip ahead in the draft. The Jets have selected
The Patriots
Justin Wembley, right tackle. He was one of the better right tackles, so they go offensive line there. The Patriots. Yeah, they didn't make the playoffs this year. It's an early pick for them. All right. Patriots.
The Vikings are now on the
Eric Booth, another tackle. He was on my scout on my board there. It's certainly not this early. All right, so our division foe, the Vikings here.
The Raiders are
Dave
now
Mitchell,
on
defensive tackle. I don't think I even scouted him. So the Raiders.
The Bengals are now on
Demarcus Radley, he was, I think, the third middle linebacker we had on our list. So the Raiders take him. There's been some interesting picks. This has not gone anything like my draft board, which I guess is good news. I have a lot of good players to pick from later. Bengals, they've added some good players. Let's see what they do now. Eric Chambers, okay, right guard. I didn't scout him, so I don't know much about him. So far, this has been like a very blah draft. Out of the first, I mean, the first pick was good, as we expected, Wilkins, and I like my guy. So who's up? The Washington football team. They won't pick a quarterback. They have two of them. I don't think.
Falcons are
Ooh, so they took that really nice receiver. They took him a little bit early. So Jonathan McCray is the first receiver off the board. I think that's a smart pick for them. They had the number 2 pick last year. They picked a quarterback. So they get him a receiver this year. So Atlanta, I can see Atlanta taking that quarterback.
The Texans are
Ooh,
now
they take the injured, or the the receiver that had a bad scouting report. Goes to Atlanta. All right, Texans are up.
The Giants are now
So I knew those defensive tackles were going to be good. So that Mike Powell guy goes to the Texans. They get a nice pick there. So far, he's the second highest player. So Texans get a nice defensive tackle. Giants are up.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
Mateus Collins, a tackle, goes to the Giants. I don't think I scouted him. Chargers, pick 13.
The Broncos are now on
Jonathan
the clock.
Stanley, another one of those defensive tackles I thought would be pretty good. So he's so far the third highest rated player at pick 13. Broncos, they just signed a quarterback, so they got Baker Mayfield.
The Jets are now on the
They
clock.
get a right tackle, Dwayne Baldwin. It's a pretty underwhelming pick so far. Very underwhelming. Jets are picking again. Who did they pick? Oh, they picked, I don't remember who it was now. Tackle, maybe?
The Colts
Brandon
are now
Nichols.
on the clock.
Okay, so he was the one corner that, he was another early first corner talent, so that's a nice pick. Jets get a nice looking corner there. That brings up the Colts.
The Packers are now on the clock.
DeAndre Ferguson, Michigan State linebacker.
The Panthers are now on
Jermaine
the clock.
Blair, another middle linebacker. See, these are all good picks for us because we don't really need to grab a middle linebacker. Look how many of these teams are picking linebackers and no one's picked the Heisman Trophy winner yet. Very interesting. Tremaine Blair goes to the Packers. He was on my list. I liked him. Panthers.
The Steelers are now
Evan
on the
Martin.
clock.
I liked him a lot. He was someone I was considering grabbing late first, early second. I liked Evan Martin a lot. But he doesn't look to be that special of a player, so he had a great combine. He's just 21, so he'll probably still turn into a nice starter for them. All right, Steelers, pick 19. We're coming up. We got the 31st.
The 49ers are now on the
Glenn
clock.
Brayton, outside linebacker, goes to the Steelers. 49ers.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
Ethan Pittman, he was that, I believe he was the lineman that everyone was kind of raving about, saying like was the best lineman in the draft. But he doesn't look that great. So 49ers go ahead and grab him. That is a very like online league draft pick right there, where you see it happen, you feel bad for the guy. You're like, oh, you really took that scouting report to heart. But again, there's the proof there that they've tweaked these a little bit, it seems like. So at least I think it's proof. I don't know. I want to make sure I'm very clear on that. I am not aware. But it seems like it, which is good. For the Ravens,
The Titans are now on the clock.
Manny Mallard, defensive tackle. Titans. Guys, there's going to be
The
a...
Buccaneers
There
are
he
now on
goes.
the clock.
So there's the Heisman Trophy winner. Morgan Backford goes to the Titans. I was wondering if he was going to fall away to us. So there he goes. The Bucs are now up.
The Bears are now
They
on the
take
clock.
defensive tackle Walt Bradley. The Bears were probably hoping one of those middle linebackers fell. I also see them taking that quarterback right here. Wouldn't that be something if this guy turns out to be a stud and I have to play him every twice a year?
The Cowboys.
They do. Oh my gosh. So the Bears have picked Colin Farley. That makes my next pick not as difficult. So Colin Farley goes to the Bears. In Lions fashion, he will be the next like Randy Moss of the Lions. The Lions, by the way, were you ever wondered, all those teams passed on Randy Moss that one year, and can you believe it? He got picked 18th or 19th, whatever it was. Many teams passed on Randy Moss, but guess who the team was that passed directly in front of the Vikings? It was the Lions. So he would have never made it as the Lions. It was a smart pick by the Vikings. They had his brother on staff and all kinds of different stuff. It made a lot of sense for them. But man, there's been a lot of picks like that. Who was the guard for the Seahawks? Sean Springs, the cornerback for the Seahawks. That happened with us. We missed him by a pick. It's just happened both ways, right? We missed a guy by a pick, or we passed, and then the next pick after us is like some complete stud. Hutchinson is the guard I'm thinking of for the Seahawks way back when. So anyway, Bears get Colin Farley. All right, we'll have to see. It's all about the dev trade with him. I don't know. That puts Dallas on the clock here.
The Eagles are now
Nathan Peake. There goes that receiver with a good report. So the AI is taking those reports to heart. It actually feels very much like playing an online league. It's really cool. I'm glad. The reason I say that's really cool is because I don't want to get all those players, right? I don't want it to be that easy. It kind of ruins it. So this is actually really cool to see. All right, so the Eagles.
The Jaguars are now.
Tyrone Garrison, that's the first tight end. Boy, he was not the first tight end I was thinking to go. So the Eagles grab a tight end. Boy, we're coming up. Jaguars select Darian Maynard, strong safety. I think he was on our list. We'll take a look when there's 3 picks before us, just like we did the first pick. So Buffalo Bills now. There's plenty of guys I like. This pick, like I said, the hardest pick was that third one. Keegan Andrews looks like a nice pick for the Bills. Boy, Ohio State's had a lot of good players in these drafts the first 2 years. Okay, the Chiefs, they've lost quite a few players. Actually, I'm sorry, they just added J.J. Watt. They lost Mitchell Schwartz, though, to free agency. So let's see what the Chiefs do here. And then we're going to take a look at who's left.
The Saints are now
Thomas Blaylock, the center. So just like we were with the first pick, we are now 3 picks away. And oh boy, there are some really good players. I mean, a guy I was looking at taking at number 3 overall is still sitting there, Martin Stoutmire. So that's pretty nice. And then we start to get into, so let me just kind of walk you through the board. So Martin Stoutmire is the last. Actually, he's not the last early first. There's 2 early first talents still on the board. Will Allman, who we don't really need a center. We already have a power guard, even though he's not a scheme fit. I probably don't want to take Will Allman, even though I think he'll be good. I just want to make sure we're getting guys that can fit, especially when I pick Pat Christmas, who isn't going to be a good scheme fit. Donovan Red, again, is just this incredibly talented corner, or at least we think, but also worried about a report about his bench not being good. But he had the second best bench, so it's really strange. So Mountain Stoutmire is an early first. So is Red. So is Allman. Red has a bad report. Then we start getting into guys who have positive news stories. And there's 3 of those guys left. So there's Mark Jett, Sean Griffin, and Sean Timmons. I can tell you right now that I probably either want to get Red or Timmons with our 2nd round pick. There's 2 corners there. So I don't know. It's probably going to be corner safety. It's just I'm not sure what order. So again, it'll either be like we grab Stoutmire or Timmons, and then Red and Griffin is kind of what I'm thinking. So it's going to be probably defense these first few picks. Well, let's first see what the Saints do here.
The Cardinals are now
Travis Nugent, so the Michigan quarterback, goes to the Saints. Cardinals are up next, and then it's us. The last pick in the first round got from the Browns.
The Lions are now
Darius Moorhead. So, oh my gosh, you guys, there are a ton of good players. Again, guys I was looking at picking 3rd overall. Martin Stoutmeyer, one of them. He's an early first. He did not have any kind of bad report. He's 21. He's a scheme fit. It's going to be hard to pass on him. I love Donovan Red, but I worry about the reasons why I love him. Again, you look at that combine report, right? And it's just beautiful looking. But he had a negative report about his bench, which doesn't make a lot of sense because he was second in cornerback bench pressing. But it's a negative story nonetheless. He's 21, also a scheme fit, so I'm a little bit worried. At the same time, the reason I think I'm going to take Stoutmeyer here is that there's another corner who did have a positive report, and that's Sean Griffin. And I think Sean Griffin, or Red, or both, will be available when we pick in the second round here in just a few picks. And so even though he'll be a stretch, I'm okay with it. He's a year older. I mean, any of these corners, I don't mind taking a chance on. Mark Jett, if we needed a tight end, I would consider it now, but we just don't yet. And then there's also Sean Timmons, who did have a positive report as well. And he is actually, he's not a scheme fit. But to me, it's kind of a no-brainer here. When is he slotted to go? Late second is when he's projected. I mean, it's a bit of a stretch, but I don't see anybody on my list who is originally projected as a first. I mean, look at these. These are all, so we're kind of already through our board. And if we look at the available players, they're just guys that either I'm not interested in or, like Christopher Swan. We scouted this guy, but he came back undrafted talent. So, look at these. Where's the first one I'm looking at is on the left-hand side next to their player's face. Where's the first one? It's Donovan Red. And it's Larry Johnson, who was hurt. Rick Jarrett. So, I think we stick to our board, man. I think we go, this could be really good. We get 2 new linebackers. We get a terrible run defense. We get another safety. Yeah, I think this is the pick. Donovan Red is so tempting, though. But it doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with this guy. There very well could be here. And again, worst case, I like Sean Griffin, too. My biggest fear in passing on getting Martin Stoutmeyer here is that Sean Timmons, who did have a good report, ends up being the better safety. But we're going to stick to our board. Because, hey, maybe we can grab Sean Timmons, too. What the hell? All right. Martin Stoutmeyer, 21-year-old out of North Carolina. Last time the Lions picked a Tar Heel in the first round, it was Eric Ebron. Hopefully this one works out a little bit better. He's an 8 hit power, which I'm not honestly thrilled about. But he's our guy. And it's a bad pick. Oh, it is a good pick. Oh, he's normal dev, though. That's okay, though. So 4th best talent, we get him at pick 32. He's a scheme fit. He's just 21, so he's gonna be a solid starter. He's probably never gonna be 90 something overall, but he'll be solid. Good speed. He won't get hurt. Can actually pick some balls off, so anyone catching, that's nice. Great acceleration. Great hit power. Yeah, I'm good with it. Gotta be now, right? He's our guy. Martin Stoutmeyer. Now we're picking again. And 3 picks. You guys already know what I'm looking at, so probably corner here. Yeah, he could. So Michael says he could get a trait boost if he performs. Yes. I am playing in an owner mode, so it's a little bit different, which I like. I don't get a ton of opportunities for those, but I'm okay with that. So Martin Stoutmeyer is the newest Lion. Okay, let's see. The Rams made a good first-round pick. Let's see what they do here in the second-round pick.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Damn, there goes Donovan Red. He looks good. They had a nice draft. But see, the reason I'm passing on Red, again, there's Sean Griffin, who I think could be as good of a corner, and maybe even have the dev trait that maybe Red doesn't have, which I don't know. But what was I just saying? There was a reason. What was I saying about that? Oh, yeah, red was going to be, I mean, the cornerback too at this point, right? So, yes, cornerbacks are always welcome. But one, we still have Justin Coleman, who's pretty damn good in this franchise. And, of course, we have Okuda. So, Coleman will be gone after next year probably, so we would need a guy. But, like, right now, he's going to always be a cornerback too on this team, at least until Okuda one day leaves. So, to me, grabbing a safety was still the better move for me. So now I just hope that Miami does not pick the corner we were looking at, because I probably would grab him. So Sean Griffin. If not, I don't know. We might actually grab the tight end. But actually, Sean Griffin's not expected to go until later anyway. I don't know if I would take him yet. Probably get Sean Griffin in the third round. Oh, let's see what they do. So Miami,
The Lions.
Larry Johnson, the injured linebacker. So this pick might be a little harder than I was thinking, because again, Sean Griffin is the guy I'm heavily leaning towards, but it's kind of early for him, truthfully. We have him as a mid-second. They have him as an early. I mean, it's early regardless. He's also not a scheme fit. He's 22. I do want to get a corner here, but there are some other guys that we like. And Zach Dobson technically is a better corner. He's a late first talent, 22. So who in our draft board has first round talent, but maybe is only projected as like a second at the lowest? Defensive tackles, Zach Dobson, Peter Cooks. Now what about, it's like second? Could get this really quick running back, but I refuse to pick a running back in the second round. It's just not gonna happen. Don't really need receiver. John McCord, late second. He wouldn't be a bad pick, John McCord, but he's a late second. Let's see what the picture is at end really quick, then I think I know what I want to do. Yeah, I don't need to take McCord. So I think I am going to just, it's going to be a bit of a reach, but he had a positive news story. And so, Sean Griffin, that was the original plan. I said if Red was gone, we'd take him.
The Jets
Hidden
are
depth
now on the
trait.
clock.
So we took him a little early, but we found a nice corner. And he's almost a scheme fit. He's one thing away from being a scheme fit for us. Alright, I'm good at that pick. I'd have been pissed if I passed on him. Ooh, he's got some work to do in his zone, but that's okay. And he's, I believe, the cousin of our receiver who was third in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting, which is Pierre Griffin. I'm almost certain that they're cousins, fictional cousins. So that's kind of cool. We have Pierre Griffin and now Sean Griffin. All right, I am very happy with that pick now. It was a bit of a reach, but the center looks nuts. You mean like in his picture, or like he looks good? Let me see what you're talking about. Oh, yeah, yeah, his ratings look crazy. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, if he was a scheme fit, I mean, we could always use interior linemen. I'm sure we could find a place for him. Second bench press, yeah, he'll be really good. Um, yeah, he absolutely will be good. Yeah, he was technically the top guy on my board, but he didn't have great agility skills there, and I just worried about how long it would take him to make him a scheme. Yeah, three A's are rare. Yeah, yeah, for sure. He'll be good. Yeah, probably could have grabbed him, but so far we've gone all defense, and there's still a ton of players that we like. So let's move on. By the way, has the AI made any trades? I don't think they is. I don't know if it's. Have you guys seen it at all this year? Do they make trades in the draft? They used to. This is the second draft in a row they haven't. So I'm not letting myself do it. I feel dirty. I made two trades of. Well, I made a trade during the draft last year, and no other team did. So I didn't let myself do it this year. I'll just pretend that it's like MLB now. You can't trade draft picks or something. It's fine. So let's skip ahead. The Jets. Now it's just wide open. We got a lot of stuff. There's that really fast running back that went South Dakota State. He's 23 though. Now I'm pumped. We got linebacker / edge rusher. We got a safety. We got a corner. This is great. We didn't really address the offense, but there's opportunities to do that later on. Okay, so they get a running back. That's a nice pick, I think, for the Jets.
The Vikings are now
Jarrett
on the clock.
Goes to the Patriots. Let's see what the Vikings do. There goes John McCord. So he was the guy I was looking at. Take a screenshot of that and check him out later. See the Raiders.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
Take Chris Terry. The Bengals. There goes Will Allman. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, the center. That was a great pick by them. Yeah, to be a power running team, but we're just not. But I'll be curious to see because he'll be great. Now I wonder if he has a dev trait. Usually when they're rated that high, they don't have dev traits, but I mean that's actually what we picked. 31st overall last year. We got the highest rated talent in the draft. He's a 78 defensive tackle who's on our team. Just to kind of show you what he looks like now a year later. He had 16.5 sacks as a rookie on All-Madden. That's probably more to do with the game mechanics than anything. Probably more just coverage sacks. So he's up to an 82 overall. But he's who we picked 31st. He was the top-rated player, 78 overall. We drafted him, but normal dev trait. So didn't have a single special dev trait in the first draft. We have 2 already and 3 picks this year. So pretty excited. All right, so Washington is up. Where's that tight end going to go? That's the next player I'm kind of looking at. Rayshawn Barton, free safety at Grand Valley State. Falcons. Where's the injured tight end? Cole McCain goes to the Falcons. Oh, shit. What just happened?
The Lions are now on the clock.
Whoops. Sorry, guys. Let's jump back in here. Okay, it's still paused. So, all right. Well, we just had a lot of action. Sorry about that. Let's just do a quick recap. Dang, I like taking some screenshots of those guys. That was weird. So there's been no trades drafted. Let's go back to. Okay, we saw Cole McCain, then Terrence Townsend goes. Mike Floyd, the injured linebacker. It just sucks that we're not going to see any of these guys' overalls, but sorry about that, guys. Good news is, not a lot of guys that are on my board are going. Zach Dotson was a corner, but we're not looking at corner anymore. There goes Sean Timmons to the Eagles. Be curious to see him. There's also a player down here I wanted to screenshot really quick. It was that injured linebacker, Mike Floyd. So Timmons. Jason Pemberton was that really that tall, kind of big body receiver who could jump. Not a lot, man. There are a ton of players still. This is the third round now. So we still got 5 more picks. There are a lot of guys available. Mark Jett is a first-round talent who had a news story about him. Positive news story. He's the fastest. He can out-jump any other tight end. He's the most agile tight end. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be very hard to pass on this guy. He's not a scheme fit, but it gives us a year to kind of work on him. I'm not sure what we're going to do with Hawkinson, but that's going to be really hard to pass on him. He's a 1-3. Yeah, I'm taking Mark Jett.
The Jets are now
number 12 in true talent. We got him at 67. He's normal dev though, but he'll be a scheme fit for us soon enough. So Mark Jett, fastest tight end in the draft, most agile, could jump the highest as well. A very athletic guy, but comes back with a normal dev trait. But so we go tight end in the third round. I can't believe that's only the 12th highest rated player, but hey, third round, I'll take it.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Cool. I'm just going to start tearing through these
The
here.
Vikings are now on the clock.
Let's look for some
The
names that we were
Raiders
looking
are
at.
now on the clock. The Bengals are now on the clock.
Percy Whitaker, that's a sweet name.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
Richard Favors. Oh, okay.
The Texans are now on the
Josh
clock.
O'Neal, that's the third quarterback to go off the board. Not a very good quarterback draft. I can't wait to see that Bears quarterback. I'm kind of terrified.
The Giants.
Daniel Cox, he's a corner we were looking at. Good pick for, who was that? Texans?
The Chargers are
Quincy
now on
Young,
the clock.
receiver, goes to the Giants.
The Broncos are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock.
Guys, we've got a pretty good draft so far.
Colts
Pretty
are
happy
now
with that.
on
I
the
can't
clock.
believe I got 4 of those names. So the only thing I'm wondering about, well, no, because I mean, the corner we got is as a dev trade. I would be willing to bet that red guy doesn't. So that's what I'll be kind of kicking myself over is like, damn, should I have taken red before the safety? I don't know. I'll examine it after the draft, but that's kind of my only question mark so far.
The Packers
About
are
halfway
now
through
on
the
the
third
clock.
round here. So we are halfway through the draft. It'll go pretty quick now.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
He was on our board. Looks like a good player.
The Steelers are now on the clock. The 49ers are now on the clock. The Ravens are now on the clock. The Titans are now on the
DeAndre
clock.
Barlow, 4th quarterback out of FAU, goes to the Ravens. Uneventful, it looks
The
like.
Buccaneers are now on the clock. The Bears are now on the clock.
There's so many players still that I want to
The
get.
Cowboys
Great.
are now on the clock.
Terry Trout.
The
That's a sweet
Eagles
name.
are now on the clock. The Jaguars are now on the clock. The Bills are now on the clock. The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Coming up on round 4,
The Saints are now on the clock.
Victor Hurst. Obviously the relative of Garrison Hurst there.
The Cardinals are now on the clock. The Browns are now on the clock.
What position is he? Left end. Taylor Lopez.
The
We're in
Texans
round
are now on
4.
the clock.
Browns grab a quarterback. They need to replace Baker Mayfield. They take a quarterback, the last pick of the 3rd round, Darren Roth. I don't think he's the heir apparent, though, for a Super Bowl winning team. I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. Okay, Texans, first pick in the 4th round.
The Dolphins are now
Greg
on
Larson.
the clock.
And then it's the Dolphins, and then it's us.
The Lions are now
Okay, Trevor
on the
Killings is on our list. Ooh, lots of good players, guys. Lots of good players. So we are in what round here? The 4th round. So I really don't want to pick somebody. I mean, I'll consider a 5th round talent if I really like him. This is that slot receiver. He's got an amazing. Are those sideburns? Or is that just a kind of a weak beard at the bottom? Look at that dude's sideburns. If those are sideburns, that's incredible. So let's see. I really like him, but I don't know if we need to pick him in the 4th round. But I would. He's a 1st round talent. I mean, good grief. We might have to. Because who's above a 5th round projected talent? Nobody. Yeah, he might be our guy, which is great because I wanted to get him. He's one of the last receivers. I mean, let's go by position here. A couple of running backs that we'll probably grab later on, probably next round. Grab a receiver now. Love that guy in the slot. We got a tight end. They're all gone anyway. I think all the linemen we were looking at are completely gone. Wow. I'd like to grab him next round if possible. I think he could be a nice grab. These guys we can grab late. Yeah, I think we're going to go with that receiver. Lawrence Ewing, the sideburn man. I hope those are sideburns. That's ridiculous. All right, Lawrence Ewing, welcome to Detroit.
The Seahawks.
25 in value. We get him at 99. He's short, but hey, he's a slot guy. He wants to wear, what's his face's number? Calvin Johnson's number. I don't know about that. 92 speed, 95 acceleration. Doesn't run a great short route, which is to be expected. He's a deep threat guy. But that's something I would like to have him do a little bit because I think I'd like to put him in the slot. What is his press or his release? That's not great. So it gives us another good speed option there. This guy can also run reverses. Yeah, he'll be used. He'll be used. I love this pick. Very, very happy with that. And a really good draft so far. Lawrence Ewing, God, those sideburns. Incredible.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Ooh, is that one of the running backs we were looking at? I think it was. Gotta keep an eye on that because I do want to maybe grab one of the running backs. Let's see. Or no, it wasn't. We have Xavier Dillard. They had 3 running backs that were pretty good in this draft. They have a power back. Actually, that might have been the power back there. Take a shot at him and check him out.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
Maurice Rushing.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
Antonio Scarborough was on my list for a little while. I took him off, though.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
Oh, man, there goes Max Pippin. He was that, 6th or 7th round guy I wanted to grab, that really quick, super athletic linebacker. That's all right. I thought I was going to be able to grab him late.
The Falcons are now on the clock. The Texans are now on the clock. The Giants are now on the clock.
So pumped about this draft so far.
Are now on the
and what's cool about it is I've had a good draft, but it hasn't been ridiculous. It's not like I maddenized the game or something where everyone picks an X factor. And I put some serious planning into this, and then I've made some really good picks. Most of the picks have been good. It's funny, the biggest reach is the guy who took number 3 overall. But it's not like I've had some draft that's going to completely change the outlook of my franchise or anything. So I think there's a lot of, I know a lot of people complain about Madden, but there's some of this stuff under the hood that's done really, really well. And I think the draft is one of those things by far. I think it's one of the game's strong suits for sure. Because this is cool. It's very well balanced. It feels actually very much like an online. Holden Morris looks like a good receiver. It just feels like you're in an online league almost. And truthfully, the problem with the online leagues, like in theory, I love it, but have you ever been in an online league where the stats are realistic? I mean, you have guys who have like 45 sacks in a season, 31 interceptions by their middle linebacker. Like, it's just, I don't know. It grew old for me. I have way more fun using my own sliders, playing on All-Madden. Cameron Mays, there's a nice pick. Nice job, Seahawks.
The Packers are now on the clock.
Some good picks this round.
Are now on the clock.
Larry Phillips, probably related to Lawrence Phillips, running back there. It is fun playing against others, but I also like playing on my own schedule, and I don't have to like revolve around trying to get a game in, and that's cool. Yeah. I mean, they're fun, man. We have a league at SSG still going. This is the first year I'm playing it. It just wasn't my thing anymore. I wanted to really kind of recommit to solo play this whole year, and that's what I've been doing. MLB The Show, played a whole 162 game season, and there's another nice pick. This round's had a lot of good players picked, but yeah, I just wanted to just kind of like reinvent a little bit, like that solo play, and I think that's something that's kind of what I grew up playing and enjoy playing. So 49ers, Jamie Thomas, quarterback.
The Titans are now on the clock. The Buccaneers are now on the clock. The Bears are now on the clock. The Cowboys are now on the clock. The Eagles are now on the clock.
Kyle Jenkins goes to the Cowboys.
The Jaguars are now on the
Deontay Bush, he was on our list. Damn it, he was the guy I was trying to grab next round. So he goes to the Eagles. It's a nice pick. But it is what it is. Can't get everybody.
The Bills are
It would not be fun if you were.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Yeah, Michael, that's exactly it for me. I mean, just trying to schedule it, and then like it's just sometimes I'm not in the mood to play a game, and I don't know. Like I said, to me, it's like you start looking at the league. Even though I would try to play realistic, and we had a pretty good system about reporting people who weren't. I mean, you look at the end of the year stats, and you're like, why does this guy have 31 interceptions? With his free safety, it's like that's 2 a game. Like it's just, I don't know. To me, it just got old very, very quickly. Oh, let's see. We are coming up here on the 5th round.
The Saints are now on the clock. The Cardinals are now on the clock.
Love some of these names.
The
Gerald
Browns
Claxton.
are now on the clock.
Last pick in the 4th round.
The Rams are now on the clock.
Steve Russell. Good pick for them.
The Dolphins are
Josh
now on the
Peterson. All right, 5th round pick coming up.
clock. The Lions are now on the clock.
Plenty of options still. A defensive end being gone now could put one of those running backs in play. Ooh, either of these guys. Well, John McClellan. I have to make a decision here on which running back I want. I guess that's kind of the key. This guy's pretty agile, and he's 22. His speed's average. Good hands. Pretty agile, though. This guy's 21. Can jump really well for 5'9". So pretty good lower leg strength, break tackles. He's a year younger, 4.340. I'm sorry, 4.640. This guy's a 4.48. I probably like McClellan better. He's a year older. Getting another defensive tackle never hurts, though. He's 21. really tempted to go Emmanuel Evans, but he's a 7th round. But I guess at this point, I don't really care about their projected round. We just want to grab the talent we can. So he's what, a mid-second? He's a late. I mean, there's 2 running backs. I don't need a receiver, so I don't mind picking him. I think we got to go Emmanuel Evans here. Adonis Westbrook, that's a good name. Yeah, that's super fun. I mean, it's fun. I mean, that reminds me of like when I was in college and like, you know, the NCAA online dynasties with your friends, right? Where we'd just run around and like, I mean, some of my buddies were like making they'd get like an actual jersey of their player, like a fictitious player. They'd have like a USC jersey or something. And I mean, it was just totally ridiculous and it was so fun. And remember, you know, your buddies like making you skip class, like, come on, you're getting, we want to get to recruiting. Like, we can't recruit until you play. It's like, come on, like, fine. I mean, that was hilarious. We're going to go Emmanuel Evans here, by the way. Iowa State. At this point, I don't really care about round projection. We just want to get talent. And this guy's 21. He's a scheme fit. I mean, he's a fantastic player for us, hopefully.
The Jets are now on the clock.
I'll take it. Emmanuel Evans. Another good name. Pretty strong. I'm going to freak out if we get a late dev guy in one of these, though.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Nice pick for the Jets. Some of these teams have had really good drafts. You know, I was thinking, too, I wish Madden had, like, personalities, like, with the teams, where, like, certain teams would always, like how the Raiders in real life, like, they used to always draft for, like, speed. And, I mean, head coach had this, right, where you'd have actually, like, team philosophies. And I really hope they bring that into Madden. That would be pretty awesome.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
So ripping through here.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
Not too many guys left on our draft board, so it's going to be a lot of names that
are now on the clock.
Don't really recognize here.
The Giants.
There goes John McClellan. Okay, one of the running backs is gone. That's okay. We have enough running backs currently, so much rather grab that defensive tackle. Eagles to the Texans.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
Evan Tyson, was he that other receiver that was on my board? I'm trying to remember what his name was. No, Marlon Boast, or Bost.
The Broncos are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock. The Colts are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Panthers are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock. The 49ers are now on the clock. The Ravens are now on the clock. The Titans are now on the clock. The Buccaneers are now on the clock. The Bears are now on the clock.
I can't wait to see that Bears quarterback. That's the first guy I'm going to check, I think. We'll take a look at some of the first round guys right afterwards, so stick around for that, because, oh my gosh, I passed on that quarterback and the Bears picked him. That could be the revenge for us stealing their middle linebacker.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
Monte Milton, there's a nice pick. Another nice name, too.
The Bills are now on the clock.
So many awesome names.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Another great Duke Wilson, sweet name. Or Woodson, I should say.
The Saints are now on the clock.
Matt Moon. All right, come up on the 6th round.
The Cardinals are now on the clock. The Browns are now on the clock. The Rams are now on the clock.
6th round it is. We're going to get that running back.
The Colts are now on
Ray
the
Jones,
clock.
North Carolina. Goes to the Rams.
The Lions are
All
now
right,
on the clock.
probably going to pick that running back here. Justice Slayton goes. All right, let's see. Draft board. Oh, damn. Somebody did take that running back. I didn't even notice. No, he must not have been very good. Well, do we grab? I mean, we need receivers. I don't. It's either going to be a receiver or. I mean, why would we pass on a guy we've scouted? We know he's a third, right? I'm just seeing like what's even out here that we didn't scout that we want to roll the dice on. But I mean, we're gonna have a chance to do that in the 7th round. So, what about guys I scouted that we just didn't have on our board? Let's see if there's anything out there. He's fast as hell, Dalton Reese. I want to just draft just straight speed every time, though. Hey, what's up, Eli? I see part of your message. I don't think it showed the whole message, but... He's not scheme fit. I really want to make sure these late guys are scheme fits, because otherwise they really don't have a chance, right? I mean, if you're drafting guys in like the high 60s and stuff like that, they gotta have a shot. Maybe they drafted a defensive tackle, though, so I think we're okay. Nate Brooks. It's one of our commissioner names in SSG. He's our hockey commissioner. Oh, he's pretty fast. I like Nate Brooks. I do like Nate Brooks. I would say we either do... God, I gotta get rid of this stupid thing. Oh. Go away. There it goes. Okay. So Nate Brooks or Marlon Bost, I think, are the picks. He's supposed to go in the 5th round. Where's Brooks at? So he's a 3.5. Brooks is a 4.6. Oh, it's tough because I think Brooks is probably the lesser player if he's fast though. He's 23. He's younger. He's 22. Yeah, I'm going to actually take the safety because there's a couple other receivers here that I wouldn't mind grabbing. I like the size on him. And this guy's got crazy speed, so we'll grab another receiver though, probably in the 7th. So let's go grab Nate Brooks. It's probably gonna suck. Whenever you see a guy who's like a mid pick like this with a really good combine, he's gonna be overrated. But let's see if I'm wrong.
The Jets are now on the clock.
He's something. He's a scheme fit. I mean, he can be a decent backup for sure. So I'll take it. Decent at zone, decent at best, I guess. And then probably grab one of those receivers. Stupid hold to reorder thing. Here's how you get rid of it, by the way. Just gotta go to your draft board and just move somebody, and then it disappears. Alright, there goes Nate Brooks. We can probably just advance to the next user pick here, and we'll just take whatever's there. Probably one of those receivers, though. Oh yeah, we'll get the last pick in the 7th round, I think. Mr. Irrelevant. Who is it going to be? Mr. Irrelevant. Whoa, there's like nothing left. He's the last guy we scouted. We do need a backup quarterback. Gabe Easley. He's an undrafted talent, though. I mean, at this point, oh my god. Dang, I can't believe all those receivers are gone. That's kind of a bummer. And there's only 3 guys for even, like, potential NFL players. This guy's a big receiver. Strong. He's 23. How old is this quarterback? I might just take him. He's 23. We need a backup quarterback, though, and it would save us some money. This is probably a ridiculous move, but unless there's somebody here. He's got 15 bench press. He's 21. I mean, we know this guy sucks. I'm probably better to take one of the guys that isn't scouted. This guy's 21. Has the 3rd best bench press. Looking at guys who might be a scheme fit just to take a chance on. This bench is terrible. We need a punter too. You guys have like a crazy... Yeah, no, that's what I'm going to do, because Michael, at the very least, like, it would save me from having to draft a quarterback. Was it this guy? George Kemp, he was 20, no, it was the 21-year-old. Carl Forsett, so he's out of Cal, decent bench press. Oh, I don't know, Michael. That makes sense. That's probably why I never had a quarterback injury, because I think I've only had 2. That is an interesting development. Eli, by the way, I didn't see the rest of your message, but it looks like you were saying you've enjoyed the stream, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, that's very possible, because I don't think I've carried 3 quarterbacks very often at all. But I'll make that a new rule. Of course, the year after I cut Stafford. But yeah, we're going to draft Carl Forsett here. Sure, he's terrible. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Oh boy, he was pretty bad. All right, well, draft recap. They're already signed, because why would Madden want us to actually negotiate contracts? So there we go. Pat Christmas. He has a hidden dev trait. I am pretty pumped about that. So he was a reach, so to speak. 8th best player. We took him 3rd, but with a hidden dev trait, I am okay with that. And we took Martin Stoutmeyer, who is normal, but a 76. So again, a guy that will probably start for us. He was the end of the 1st round there. Then we took Pierre Griffin's cousin or brother or whatever. Hidden dev trait in the 2nd round, cornerback. So really excited about that pick. He'll be a starter by his 2nd year for us. Mark Chet, who I'm actually surprised isn't a hidden dev trait. I thought he would be, but it gives us an option to maybe try and develop a little bit behind Hawkinson. And then after that, it's going to be just some filler guys, but guys I do like. This guy's got good speed. Can be a decent slot receiver for us right now. Defensive tackle. He's a 21-year-old 70 overall. And Nate Brooks, who you saw, and then here's that quarterback. I didn't really get a good look at him. Yeah, decent throwing power. Yeah, he works. It'd be kind of fun to play a game with him. Yeah, thank you, Michael. That's a good point about the quarterback thing. I didn't even think about that. That's probably why I haven't had. That's probably why actually because I've noticed like most teams like never are starting their backup quarterbacks. One, we know the AI won't bench them or anything like that. Can I see other teams' rookies? Yeah. All right, guys. Let's just go look at the first couple picks. So who had the first pick? It was the Rams, and this was an end that I actually had number 1 on my board for a little while, and it was Greg Wilkins. He's a 78 overall. Does he have a hidden depth trait? He does. Oh my God. Yeah, he's gonna be a beast. So there you go. So there's the confirmation that having a negative news story, you can still be a good player. This guy has a hidden dev trait. He had a negative news story, and he's probably the highest rated player in the draft. So good pick by them. They literally took the best player. I would have been so bummed. They also got Donovan Red, who, man, I'm so scared to see this because I was going to pick him at the end of the second round. I was worried because he had a bad bench press, even though he was second in cornerback bench pressing. We know his rating's good, 76. Let's check the dev trait. Okay, he's normal. I'm okay with that because the guy we got has a hidden dev trait. So I can live with that. That's not too bad. Let's sort by overall here. I want to check the Bears. If you guys have other requests, let me know. But I'm going to probably start wrapping this up here. Got to get on to some other stuff. But I do want to check the Bears quarterback, Colin Farley. A guy that I was very, very seriously consider taking. We know he's got a good rating, 75. I am betting that he does have a hidden dev trait. That's just my hunch. Let's see. He does not. Okay, I am so glad I passed on him because we already have him. We already have a Colin Farley, essentially. We have Nick Escobar. And what's kind of cool is this creates a little bit of a rivalry. Both these guys are normal. This guy comes in a better rated. He was drafted higher. This will be a pretty fun rivalry to watch. The Bengals center. I know in one minute. Yeah, the 2 hurt thing. So let's see. Yeah, the Bengals center. Let's go check that. So here he is, Will Allman. This guy has a hidden dev trait. Okay, he doesn't. Okay. He's 23. He'll still be good. I mean, he'll be a solid starter his whole career. I don't know about him having a solid haircut. He's has like a fashionable haircut, but he's like half bald. Maybe it's just a weird angle, so I feel bad for the guy. Let's see. So the Bengals center and then Beckford. Yeah, who picked? It was the Titans? I think the Titans picked Beckford, right? The Heisman Trophy winner. Morgan Beckford, 21 years old, 73. He's going to have one. Yeah, he has a hidden dev trait. So, nice pick for them. But, could our guy be better? I think so. Lots of other players I want to take a look at, and we'll probably do that as a recap on the next episode. So, this was fun. We got the whole draft done in well under 2 hours, which I think is surprising. So, especially because I wanted to take some time to talk through things. There were some slow moments, obviously, but overall, I think it's helpful to talk through some of those strategies. And again, just looking at draft boards, looking at other people's draft boards, it's really good practice to see that sort of thing. So, before we know it, we'll be into the 2022 season doing some gameplay on All-Madden and on broadcast camera view. So if you haven't seen that, you want to check that out because it's going to be a lot of fun, especially with these new rookies. So you can subscribe to the YouTube channel if you'd like. That will help me out a tremendous amount, and I super appreciate that. And you can follow me on Twitter at MichaelO47 if you want to see the gameplay sliders I'm using. They're up on Operation Sports. And what else? Yeah, I don't know when I'll stream next year, but probably over the weekend at some point. We'll probably be jumping into some gameplay at that point too. So, this was fun, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys stopping by and checking these out. And I will see you next time.